Hey everyone, this is Rob Keens with GoldSilverPros.com. I have a very special guest on the program with us today, Brad Langille, who's the president and CEO of GoGold Resources, co-founder of both Game and Gold and Mixed Gold Resources. He's also served as director and chief executive officer of both companies. He successfully developed both companies' projects from grassroots to commercial production in Mexico. How are you doing today, Brad?
Good, Robert. Good, Robert. It's great to be talking to you, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to your listeners today.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the program. Your company is very interesting. You guys mine both gold and silver, primarily a silver company. And it's interesting times right now in the precious metals market. We've had a rebound in the gold price. It's rebounded from a low, I think, of the high 1600s US. And then silver looks like it's done very well this year as well, starting especially in the February, March timeframe. Wanted to get your general thoughts on where we are in the precious metals market right now. What do you think is affecting the price of gold and silver?
Yeah, you know, I've been doing this for 28 years, and we certainly are in a very, this industry is very cyclic. And, but, you know, as far as our team, this is all we know is, you know, gold and silver mining and exploring. And I'll tell you that it feels an awful lot like 2003, 2004, just before that big boom in the metal price. And I think this time a lot of it's driven by, you know, just so much creation of currency out there, and, you know, it's surely driving gold, and, you know, potentially some real inflation. And, you know, gold in times of, I think anyway, in times of prolonged inflation, you know, gold is a good hedge to that. Now, silver follows along on the monetary side as well, but, you know, silver, of course, is all part of that, you know, that kind of green revolution, I guess. And, you know, as far as solar panels and what have you, and will be part of that as well. So that's that industrial use as well. So I think we're just at the start of this kind of, you know, a little bit of a super cycle for gold and silver here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was just speaking with Craig Hempfield, TF Metals here not too long ago. Earlier this morning, and we were talking about the catalyst for both gold and silver. Gold, he thinks it's negative interest rates, which I agree with him. Whenever you have real negative interest rates,
right,
that tends to drive gold price very, very high. Of course, we saw that in the 70s as well when you had the high inflation. And then silver, like you said, it seems to be the technology revolution. We know that it's used in iPhones. It's used in the new EV technology for cars. It's gaining a lot of popularity, especially in Asia. And something I saw recently from the Silver Institute was astounding. They released a report back in November that said that we expect to use over 1 billion ounces for the first time as silver in a year. And most of that's the increased industrial demand. Have you heard of that report, and does that surprise you at all?
I have to be honest, I haven't seen that, but that doesn't surprise me, especially, you know, in the demand from solar panels as well, you know. So, yeah, I'd agree with that. I think we're just, I hope we're approaching a breakout here in silver. And, you know, we operate a mine, so we produce silver and gold. In fact, a little bit of the joke about the GoGold name is that we're really more of a silver producer than we are a gold producer with a gold name. I mean, the company's been around for about 11 years. I've been the CEO now for the last 6. And, you know, we've been having great success. So we haven't changed the name, but we try to rebrand it a little bit as GoGold Silver and Gold, because we're about 60% value in silver and about 40% value in gold.
Can you tell us a little bit about your history? I know that you've done this quite a few times. You have a really good history there. And I think that's important for people to know when they're investing in a company. Who is the management? Have they done it before? Have they been successful?
Yeah, you know, Robert, you know, your viewers, I'm sure a lot of them know this industry. We know this very cyclic. We know that there's a lot of risks in this industry, you know, around exploration, around mines and what have you. But of course, there's the opportunity for great rewards as well on a lot of these companies. But I think the way you mitigate the risk is that you deal with people who've done it before. You know, we've never been in the marijuana space or never in the crypto space, or so what we know is gold mining and silver. And in fact, we've built over the last 20. Well, I've been doing this 28 years, but over the last 20 years, we built 4 mines down here in Mexico. Myself and my team my whole career has been in Mexico. So we know the country very, very well, and we're really part of the industry down here. That's another thing that mitigates the risk, country experience. And I guess the other thing is we have a strong technical team after building all those mines, and we're explorers as well. Because a lot of the value, I believe, is generated from the finding to the building. You know, that's where the kind of the biggest climb in value is. So as GoGold, we're a producer. We've been producing for 7 years now. We have 8 years of reserves left at that mine. But really what drives the company is our exploration development project down in Jalisco state here in Mexico, which I believe is going to become one of the real important silver assets in the business.
Yeah, and we love silver in Mexico. Mexico is definitely one of those prime districts for silver, and we definitely need it. I think we're running shortages now, especially with the silver squeeze movement, all the investment demand that's come into silver. Good to see you guys on the left side of that Lassonde curve. We talk all the time about the Lassonde curve with our subscribers and how to get value. The fact that we have these shortages, we need to help finance these explorers and get them money so that we can get the silver out of the ground. But as you said, that's also a lot of the value on the Lassonde curve, is getting that exploration company that gets that find and then is able to take that into production. So is that your model? Do you stick around and keep the mine afterwards? Or are you just more like project generator model?
Well, you know, we've been both. And the thing is, we can control what we can control. And what by that I mean, we can control going out and working on good projects and doing good technical work and finding silver and gold. You know, we can control that with as much as you can control that. You know, we've drilled in the last, well, right now in the last 22 months, we've drilled about over 100,000 meters of drilling on that project. So we could do good technical work there, and we're finding lots of ounces. We can control that. We do the engineering, and when we get to the point where it's time to build the mine, we'll build the mine. What you can't control is if somebody's going to buy you out. I mean, I personally think that the majors have a shortage of pipeline right now because there hasn't been a lot of exploration for the last number of years. So I think we may end up with a project that's just somebody needs to own. But when we get there, and the engineering and the finding, and it's time to build the mine, we built for it before, and that's what we'll do because that's what we can control. You can't control if somebody's going to buy you because that's decision is in somebody else's boardroom. So there's a real possibility that this is going to become an asset that somebody needs, and if they offer a great deal, hey, this is all about making money for the shareholders. And by the way, I am the second largest shareholder of the company. So I think I'm very well aligned with the shareholders.
I think it's a great point that you make about the majors needing additional pipeline. It's always exploration companies, it seems like, that find these really great projects that they come and get. And I've been listening to Rick Roll say that he's expecting more of this acquisition activity to go on in the space. Do you feel as though that's going to occur? Because it seems to me like most of the finds now are not the big finds. It's mid-sized projects that have a lot of additional, you know, exploration potential that we're seeing.
Yeah, I would agree with Rick. You know, I think there's definitely a shortage. There hasn't been enough exploration done over the last 20 years. The majors typically haven't grown as much organically as they have by acquisition. And, you know, I do believe that the big deposits are becoming harder to find. Now, I think we're on to a unique one in Jalisco with our Los Ricos project, in that, and I feel very comfortable in saying it's the best project our team has had in my career. So we think it's one of the big ones that's left. And, you know, we're drilling away there with 9 drill rigs and piling up ounces pretty quickly.
So maybe we can talk about that. Why don't we take a look at some of the properties you have there in Mexico and discuss the value that you're bringing shareholders, not only in the production, but in the exploration? Sure.
Well, I'll just share a few slides here. I won't go into great depths in the technical, but just the first thing, you mentioned our model in Mexico. And our model is one of, we hope to find things that are kind of off the radar, and we've been successful in doing that in the past. These are the 4 companies that I've led over the last 28 years. And we dealt a lot with the private families in Mexico. The first one here, Gammon, the Vallina family in Chihuahua, a very rich family in Chihuahua, very prominent family, mostly in the banking business. But they had an asset called Ocampo. We acquired that from them. We built 2 mines there, and you know, at the top of a very good market. Like I mentioned, this is a very cyclic business. You know, it traded in New York and traded in Toronto at a market cap of over $2 billion. Then Mex Gold, another one we bought from the Villagomez family in down in Guanajuato, and we bought that for $20 million. We doubled the production in an underground mine that had run for 60 years. And there's where experience comes in. You know, we had some people who had worked for Barrick before, and they came in with some new technology and new, you know, capital investment of $45,000, and we were able to double the production. Then 2 years later, we sold it for $375 million. Nayarit Gold was kind of the smallest of all of these. We had a little discovery down in the Nayarit state. And we sold it to Capital Gold in 2010 for $80 million. And then now GoGold here, I've been the CEO for the last 6 years. And we, like I mentioned before, we have an operating mine with 8 years of reserves left. That's been running for 7 years. And GoGold has our big development asset down in Jalisco state. So just for a little bit of reference here, this is, and this goes to the point, you know, I'm always happy to brag about my team because they're a very, very strong team. And, you know, so this one here, talk about things kind of off the radar. That was an underappreciated asset we bought in 2014 for $9 million. We invested 11. And then we sold that one in 2017, right at the end of 2017, to a company called Agnico Eagle, one of the real premier major mining companies in the business. And they bought that for 80 million US cash. This is kind of the bottom of the cycle, and another royalty of 2%, which then we monetized a little over a year ago for another 15 million. So 20 million invested, 95 million we took out. There's Ocampo, I mentioned that, built 2 mines. That's our operating mine, Parral, which last quarter generated 6.7 million US of free cash flow, which paid for everything in the company last quarter, I'm sorry. So we were really self-funding last quarter. And then that was the little one we sold for 80 million down in Nayarit State back in 2010. Here we have El Cubo. That's one we sold for 375. We bought it for 20 million. And there's Los Ricos. So Los Ricos is an hour and 45 minutes out of the outside the second largest city in Jalisco, or second largest city in Mexico, Guadalajara, city of 10 million people. So an hour and 45-minute drive out to the site. And I'm in Mexico right now. I'll be visiting the site later this week, actually. So it's a big claim package. This spans over about 25 miles. And really it's 2 projects, Los Ricos South and Los Ricos North. Now, we started in here in March of 2019. We bought the district for $7.1 million US. And we started on the first target in Los Ricos South. Now, I say the first target because we have over 100 targets on this project. Now, really, a lot of them are very reconnaissance. There's about 5 targets right now that we're working on building resources. And in fact, in this one, in 22 months, we were able to drill about 45,000 meters, come up with a resource, 43101, of 63 million ounces of silver equivalent and another 20 million of inferred. And then we immediately took that to what's called a PEA, or a preliminary economic assessment. And that showed that target at $21 silver and $15.50 gold had a net present discounted value after tax of 295 million US. So real good for the first target. So that one we're advancing now to towards feasibility, and that would probably be the first build in the district here. But really on the exploration side, and exploration just adds, I think from my experience, so much value so quickly. We have our Los Ricos North. And And that is kind of the bigger part of the mineralized system. And you'd say, well, why didn't we start there first? Well, we got in here, we had 29 concessions, and now we're up to 43. So from 2019 until now, we were doing consolidation work. And we had some real gaping holes in our claims package in Los Ricos North. About a year ago, we were able to fill those. We got those concessions, and then we started a large drill program of 100,000 meters in the north. We focused on 4 areas: La Trini, El Favor, El Arito, and Casados. Now, 2 of those areas had some drill holes in the past from other explorers. The Trini had 50. We started there. We added another 95 holes. El Favor had 10. We've added now about another 60 holes. And then 2 of them had never been touched before. And those areas we had discovery at. And I think, to sum it up, again, not to go into too much detail about the technical part, is that, you know, there's a lot of explorers out there who are talking about the kind of the narrow vein kilos and kilos of silver, which we have in all of these districts. We have one real distinctive advantage, though. These are all kilos, but this is a cross section, but they're surrounded by moderate grade, which makes these targets bulk mineable, open pit kind of targets. So in our Favor area, you look at this, and here we have our drill hole 25, which is 70 meters first, starting right at surface at 114 grams silver. And what's 114 grams silver mean? Well, in our project in the south here, where we have an economic study now, our cutoff in the open pit is about 45 grams. So that's more than twice our economic cutoff. So inside of that, we have some very high grades, but we can mine out those high grades in an open pit because they're surrounded or enveloped in very good moderate grades. And, you know, another great example of that is our Casados, where we went into this one, and somebody had mined there a little bit about 100 years ago, you know, more your narrow kind of vein stuff, and they were mining the kilos. So we went in, first drill hole ever there. We drilled and we went through where they mined. In fact, we hit their old working. That was gone, but there's still left behind 22 meters of 121 grams. So bulk mineable target. And from doing this in the past myself, you know, building several open pit mines and building some big underground mines, I know that, you know, the bulk mining open pit is kind of an easier way for sure to start. But we drilled through that, and then we discovered what they didn't know 100 years ago, that in the bottom of this, or the footwall, there was another zone that ended up being 27 meters wide at 250 grams, and it had the kilo still intact because nobody ever found it. So it's things like this that are making Los Ricos North really just an exceptional target. And the whole district, you know, in the south, we're now at 83 million ounces. We're drilling 100,000 meters up here in the north. And in September, and that's going to be a big catalyst for us, we're coming out with that next resource in Los Ricos North on those targets I mentioned. And that'll be the next, you know, big catalyst for us. And I feel quite comfortable in saying, I think we're probably gone through the size of Los Ricos South already, and that we're now going to add that value to the GoGold story. It's Los Ricos North and that value. And just the final thing I'll touch on our projects is that we do have an operating mine, which I mentioned. It's unique. We developed some technology there that's kind of unique. And this is really also an environmental cleanup project. A real good kind of ESG. The municipality of Corral, a city of 130,000 people, are our partner on it. We pay them $75,000 a month, US. It represents a big part of their municipal budget. And you have this old mine waste right in the middle of their city. And 20 million tons is what we started with. So we take that and we truck it about 10 miles outside the city to our agglomerated heap leach. And the new technology that we developed here is that I believe we're the first people in the world at a large scale who have applied heap leaching or agglomerated heap leaching. We mix these old tailings with cement. We make a pellet out of them, and then we leach them with a solution to extract the gold and silver. Well, this is all a closed circuit system. Nothing escapes into the environment. And here we're able to do a few things. 250 jobs for the community, funding probably about 20% of the municipal budget, and really very important, cleaning up the environment, and very importantly for GoGold, last quarter we generated 6.7 million US of free cash flow. Last quarter we actually funded the exploration and all our G&A and grew the company's value at Los Ricos, and we did it through this really unique project. So we've got 8 more years here. So we've got lots more cash flow to come out of this. So, and very low cost. Our all-in sustaining is around $15 an ounce, silver equivalent. I mean, all in, that means everything. You know, it means paying all our G&A and all our capital and everything. So that, in a nutshell, that is the GoGold story. It's one of that, you know, part of the curve where you're generating big value in finding, which we're been very successful in Los Ricos. And I'll tell you, you know, another thing I feel very comfortable in saying is I believe that Los Ricos is going to become one of the really important assets in the silver space, one of the bigger deposits, and hopefully eventually one of the bigger mines in the silver space. But it's really nice having cash flow along with that. And also we do have a very strong balance sheet. We have about 73 million US cash in the bank and no debt. And, you know, we have a lot of great retail shareholders, and we're also probably about 50% institutional. And we have some of the bigger institutions in the gold silver space. And as I mentioned before, we have a large ownership by insiders, the directors, myself. I'm the second largest shareholder of the company. And we think we have a pretty good model here for some great value creation in our sector.
Yeah, a lot of good things to talk about there. I want to get back to your ESG note there for a moment. A lot of people that invest now, or when they ask me about investing in the miners, they're like, well, what are they doing to clean up the environment, or is it harmful to the environment? And what you're basically doing here is you're cleaning up maybe some old work and maybe utilizing that to get some metal out of the ground, but more importantly, to kind of clean up that site. And that's important. That's an important thing that a lot of people that want to invest in mining but aren't sure, about the environmental aspects to see in a company. I'm so glad you guys are doing that. In addition, I want you to talk a little bit about who you're employing down here. I know that I've been to a couple of mines in Mexico, and a lot of times they're not bringing people from across the world. They're employing local labor. Are you guys employing the local people as well?
So we have about 300 people working in the company right now, and there'd be 6 of us who are not Mexican.
Okay.
I've been here my whole career, so this is the only place I've ever worked. Our chief operating officer, Nisnami, he's not Mexican, but he has a family here in Mexico, and he's been here for the last 12 years living here. So we're there's the talent exists here in Mexico. There's great engineers, great geos here in Mexico. The mining industry has been alive and well here for 450 years. So there's great people in Mexico to build a company. It goes a long way as far as social license to build these mines in Mexico, that we're really viewed here as really a more Mexican company, and we get great opportunities, I think, to see things that are still kind of off the radar opportunities because of our network in the country. And you're right about Parral. This is a project which is the total mine life cycle, and this life cycle took 300 years because some of these tailings are 300 years old. And we're able to remove them from the city. I mean, the city as our partner, they have kept the liability for the old site. You know, we couldn't take that. I mean, it's, you know, 300 years of tailings there. But, you know, our new site, of course, is to the same environmental standard as you would have in Canada, the US, you know, zero discharge. And, you know, our safety record is very good. It's just ticks all the boxes as far as ESG. And you need ESG. If you haven't woken up to that as a mining company, you're not going to succeed. If you don't have social license, you don't get to build mines.
Yeah, that's exactly right. A lot of countries around the world are really tightening on that. Of course, you have the NGOs that are out there watching you guys to make sure that you're doing that. And that's come so much into focus the last few years. So from a financial perspective, you guys are doing great. I mean, you're paying for your exploration out of your production. That's always good to see, that you're not taking on debt or overly diluting shares for your existing shareholders. And you mentioned that the exploration properties you have could be even better. So could you dive a little bit more into detail on that? I think that's really important for people who may want to invest in a miner, is what you've got coming up next. And we were talking before we got on air about having to replenish resources. You guys have that plan, and it looks like you could grow more in the future. And that's important to people investing in miners.
Yeah. You know, I think that really in our space, there has not been a lot of organic growth within the majors. And, you know, their pipelines are getting a little bit skinny right now. And I think that there will be, you know, a demand out there for great projects like Los Ricos. But really, it comes right back to the fundamentals of value here. Los Ricos South is an asset that's at the preliminary economic assessment stage, and we're advancing that to pre-feasibility right now. But there's $295 million of discounted cash flow at $1,550 gold and $21 silver, so below current prices, an 11-year mine life. Now, we're not finished at Los Ricos South by any means. We're now looking at what's our Jamaica claims, which are right up here, and we look to try to add more open pit type ounces to that deposit. And we think by doing that, well, we know by doing that, we don't have to add another 83 million ounces like we have now to more than double the net asset value. Obviously, we have a capital spend here that's going to be 125 million. But if we can find more, and we think we can, we're on it right now, and you'll see a bit of the exploration advances continuing in the north, but also shifting back to the south, because we think we're going to have some more open pit ounces in the south. So before we build this, and this build is we're looking at kind of having our studies finished by the latter part of next year and getting ready to make a construction decision on this and add this to our you know, production profile. And if you think about that production profile, so we have 8 more years at Parral, where we generate between 2 million and 2.4 million ounces of silver equivalent a year at a very good cost. I mean, at about $14.50, $15 all in sustaining for silver. So this one, especially in the first 6 years, where it's mostly open pit, and we are hoping we're going to add some more open pit ounces to this, this would generate about 8 million ounces of silver equivalent, and at about $11.35 projected all-in sustaining costs. So now you average those two together, and you've got a real dynamite kind of low-cost silver producer, and we're well within the mid-tiers at that point, with plus 10 million ounces of silver equivalent production. But then again, where do you go from there? Well, at that point, Los Ricos is behind in exploration from Los Ricos North is about a year behind Los Ricos South in the growth of ounces. We started up there later. We see Los Ricos North as bigger. So if you think of our growth profile as a company, where we're going to go from producing now, making good cash flow, to a Los Ricos South mine coming on stream, which is going to put us right into that important mid-tier producer size. And then you have Los Ricos North. And if I can just arm wave a little bit here, you know, obviously we have to do the work and we have to see what's there, and that's you know, where value is created. But we feel that it's, you know, it's larger. Maybe Los Ricos North, maybe after the studies work is done, it's going to be quite a bit larger than Los Ricos South. So, you know, if that's the one that's get built a couple years after Los Ricos South, you know, that's the one that really propels us to be a large mid-tier silver gold producer. So we've got the pipeline. I mean, in Los Ricos, we've got the pipeline to really grow this company to become, you know, where we are right now at about 525 US market cap, 550 US market cap, to now adding the next big piece of the picture, which is that Los Ricos South, growing some more ounces, getting the final engineering studies done, and going to a construction decision. And then in the pipeline, we have Los Ricos North to come on behind that and really make us a much, much larger, really substantial company and an important company in the silver space. I think this will become one of the most important assets in the silver space. So if the investor's looking for, look, there's risk in this business. You know, any investor getting into junior mining and not think there's risk that's a mistake. But how you mitigate that again is people have done it before. Strong balance sheets, you know, 73 million US in the bank. Management owns a big chunk of the company. Solid institutional investors, no debt, and a pipeline that few can beat. So I guess that's what I think is the advantage of GoGold and production right now to fund a lot of that. You know, our next big capital number will be 125 million to build that mine in Los Ricos South. And we've already got 73 million US of that money. And we can do a lot of that with debt when you have that strong of a balance sheet. So we won't be a big dilution story going forward from here.
Good to know. So which markets do you trade in, and what are your tickers for investors who are interested?
Yeah, we trade in Canada on the main board on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and in the US GLGDF, which is the OTC, the over-the-counter. And, you know, in the future, we look at probably elevating in the US, but right now we trade very good volumes on the Toronto Stock Exchange as well in Canada. That's the main stock exchange.
Okay, fantastic. Brad, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you doing it. I think you guys have a very good proposition for investors interested in silver and gold. The fact you're in a premier mining district, you have a great management team, and it seems like you found yet another deposit which investors should be interested in. I think that's a really good story. Appreciate you coming on the program.
Great. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate your interest.